Welcome back to the Florida Coastal Homes YouTube channel. I'm Lori Lareau and this is Madelyn Lareau.
So you found the perfect home and now you're getting ready for inspections. We wanted to bring you a great video detailing some great advice and some easy tips to keep in mind as you go through your inspection period. Stay tuned. So today we're here with Kurt Stein of House Scan Inspections to help give us some great information about that inspection period. Hey Kurt.
Hello.
Welcome.
How's it going?
Good,
Thanks.
how are you?
Pretty great.
Great. All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure. So I'm Kurt Stein. We started House Scan Inspections back in 2017, and like most new companies, we started with humble beginnings, just kind of me in the beginning as an inspector, and the whole goal was to make this inspection experience just better. I've had a few inspections in the past, and they were good, but I figured that there could be improvements. Fast forward 4 or 5 years now, and we've grown like crazy. We've got a team of 14, and this year we'll do hopefully around 4,000 plus inspections. So
wow.
It's been pretty wild.
Yeah, that's awesome. Way to ride this crazy market.
Yeah.
So inspections are kind of very daunting, especially for new home buyers or people who haven't purchased in a while. What would you say are some things that people should look for when it comes to hiring a home inspector? Do you guys have specific certifications? What do you look for when you're hiring for your company?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say that it would depend on the individual buyer's or customer's situation. So I would say, for us, what we push with our company is the number of reviews. Most of our customers are happy with our service, and so they're happy to provide us a 5-star review. So I would say that's a very good representation of the service that you're going to get with an inspector. But there's lots of considerations. So, price is obviously a big consideration. For folks that might not have, the cash handy to pay for, a big fancy inspection with all the bells and whistles. They might look on the lower end of cost, and on the other end of the spectrum, somebody that is buying a big fancy house and doesn't want any surprises whatsoever, they might get the home inspection and then all these other little ancillary inspections. And then there's other considerations. So, as you guys know, with this market that we're in, time frame is a huge deal. So lots of folks, to make their offers to the seller better, they might do a shortened due diligence period. And so some inspection companies might not have availability in just a few days. They might be booked out further. So that's a big consideration. And then there's lots of other things, experience, certifications. There's lots of factors at play.
Every inspection we know is different for every property, but what are the different types of home inspections that someone can look at, if they do find a property that they would like to get under contract with?
Sure. So I think the big one is the home inspection. That's going to cover all your major systems of your house. And then in Florida, we have a couple specific inspections just for insurance purposes. So an insurance company might ask for a 4-point inspection, which is going to cover the 4 major systems of the house, and that's going to tell the insurance company the insurability of that property. Okay. You have a wind mitigation report, which is a little bit different, but it's also for insurance purposes. And that's going to tell the insurance company if this house deserves any credits off of your homeowner's insurance policy. We have WDO inspections, which is predominantly looking for termites and other wood-destroying organisms, and probably a handful of other ancillary, smaller inspections that depends on the house on what services you might need.
So in the 4-point inspection, what are the 4 major systems that inspection looks at?
Sure. So again, this is just for insurance purposes, and what the insurance company wants to know is the general condition and basic information of the roof, the plumbing, the HVAC system, and electrical. Gotcha. So again, insurability. So if there's any major risks, then the insurance company is going to come back and say, hey, you either need a new roof, you need to make some electrical repairs, so on and so forth.
So in this crazy market, we know a lot of buyers are writing offers as is, but they need that inspection just so they can get their homeowner's insurance. Can they book just that inspection with you?
Yes. So funny you ask that. We traditionally didn't really do standalone insurance inspections. We just launched this cool. Just in the last few weeks. So we're excited about that. And so for any insurance agents out there, yeah, we're looking at them to to hopefully use us for these standalone insurance inspections just to hopefully allow people to get insurance.
Great.
Awesome. And that kind of leads me to my next question. What about, with all of these great interest rates, there are people that are refinancing, not just, purchasing and kind of needing to go back into that part of the transaction, I guess, again, or, if they've been in it for about a year and they just kind of want to see where things are at, maybe to renew their home warranty. Do you guys come back and do a reinspection?
So we do offer re-inspections. I'll say in this market, we haven't seen very many re-inspections at all because I think negotiating has gone way, way down. Yeah. Obviously, the sellers have much more leverage in this market. And so we used to do plenty of re-inspections every week, and they've almost come down to zero. I mean, we're not doing very many at all right now.
Wow.
Which we like because it's, for a separate visit out and sometimes the complexity of a re-inspection, it's sometimes difficult. It's a difficult process. So.
What different types of properties do you inspect?
Great question. Everything and anything. So we, as you guys could imagine, we have been in, some pretty rough houses where we see some pretty crazy things. Maybe the price point might be on the lower end, and then all the way up from oceanfront, multi-million-dollar mansions, and then everything in between. So. Mobile homes, single-family houses. We'll inspect multifamily properties. We've done some light commercial, but that's not really our bread and butter. Right. But just everything, and we've probably seen just about it all.
So that kind of brings me to a question. Okay. In your business over the years, what is like the absolute craziest thing that you've ever seen at an inspection? So
I get that question a lot. I never really know exactly how to answer it because we've seen literally so much.
I can't even imagine.
I've seen some really serious foundation issues, electrical issues where a house is probably pretty close to burning down. Oh my. Anything that you can imagine we've probably seen in the last four or 5 years here.
Okay, like any wildlife?
Yeah. Or left behind socks, that missing sock you've never found.
Hoarder houses. We've seen feces, throughout houses and pets, animals. One of our guys was under a house the other day, and he had a fox hissing at him under the house.
Oh my gosh!
So that was a first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crawl space inspections, always fun, I'm sure.
Crawl space inspections are fun.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Especially in our summer heat.
Yep.
So one thing that's really trending in the Jacksonville area is all of this new construction that's budding up in our surrounding areas. I mean, for someone who's looking at new construction property, would you advise them to get a home inspection, or trust that the construction process has really dotted all of their I's and crossed all of their T's?
Sure. So really good question. Again, we get asked this quite a bit, and what we traditionally have seen is that most people will forego a home inspection buying a new construction house. Lots of folks think that, the builder is going to build this thing perfect and nobody's ever lived in it, so it's going to be perfect and there's not going to be any issues. And we're seeing the exact opposite of that. So how I explain it to people is, if you think about the construction process, there's, typically a superintendent that's kind of managing probably dozens and dozens of properties at once being built.
Right.
And then you have lots and lots of subcontractors that are coming in and building each system of that house. They don't always talk with one another. Right now, there's really serious supply chain issues where there's lots of delays on products and materials. Yeah. So things are getting put in different time frames. Add on language barriers sometimes between subcontractors and superintendents. And then at the end of the day, this isn't, a lot of people think a new house is like a showroom or a car coming off the showroom floor, and it's perfect and it's made in a factory. That's just not the case. These are skilled laborers that are putting this house together piece by piece, and they're organic materials. So wood, coming off of a tree as the lumber, and so when you add all this together, there's going to be issues. And what we have seen traditionally is that there's lots of major issues. So we've seen major roof leaks, we've seen foundation issues, electrical issues, just really everything in a brand new house. Again, because there's nobody that's lived in it and that's really gotten to, ask about this and, why isn't this working?
Live through the issues.
Exactly. So I would say I would highly recommend it for a new house to get inspected prior, and we've really seen some like pretty horrific horror stories with that. So somebody closing on a house that's maybe 90% done, and then things don't ever really seem to get finished.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's definitely something that I would recommend.
So again, new construction, people are thinking, I don't need an inspection. You were just saying how valuable that is, but we also are seeing the flippers out there in a fully renovated home. Is it the same thing? Or
I would say, yeah, similar but different. It's what I would say is, if there's probably any house out there that I would highly recommend a home inspection, it would be on a flipped house, especially like an older property that, you know, as you guys are walking in there with a buyer, everything might look beautiful and pretty.
Right.
You know, brand new kitchen, brand new bathrooms, new flooring, new paint. But really, you know, once you start opening up that house and looking at the electrical systems, the ductwork up inside the attic, the crawl space down below, all these areas that, you know, a normal person might not go and look at. Once we kind of get in there and start diving in, a lot of times we'll see lots of, you know, pretty scary, serious stuff. So there can be significant costs that are maybe just, you know, not seen at first glance. And again, I would highly recommend a home inspection in that case.
Taking shortcuts, right?
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
just to get the house on the market.
Take advantage of the market.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked about inspections, like when you go to purchase a house. And there's also what I recommend to sellers who are thinking about selling their house is that pre-listing inspection. How do you feel about those?
Yeah, I'll say this, we don't do a ton of them. Again, it's probably not the norm in our region, in our market, but we're doing a few a week.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we see it for sellers that might not be totally aware of their house. It might be a bigger house that, you know, they haven't fully maintained over the years, or they fully maintain and they might want a report showing that to a prospective buyer that, hey, this place is in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
But in most cases, it's maybe a seller that doesn't totally know everything about their house, and they just want to limit some surprises whenever they do list that house.
Got it. Makes
So
sense.
it's a good idea. Again, it's going to be, you know, $400, $500, $600 for somebody to do that. So
Right.
a lot of times people will shy away from it, but also in a lot of cases it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Especially if they've been, like you said, away from the house, maybe renting it out to somebody for the past few years, just kind of want to get it ready for that new buyer. And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So once we get into the home inspection, we've talked about how important it is and the different types of home inspections that are out there and properties that you guys go to visit. What are some things that you guys inspect? What are some things that we should be prepared for you to take a look at and look at for us?
Right. So in general, I would say almost everything that we can get our hands and eyes on. So it's a visual inspection. We're looking at everything from the roof, the exterior, the garage, all the major systems. So your plumbing system, including your water heater and your piping, fixtures, your HVAC system, so heating and cooling, if you have a heat pump, the outside condensing unit, the inside air handler, all the ductwork, electrical, the interior, attic spaces, crawl spaces, really just, again, everything that we can get our hands and eyes on.
Right.
And there's certain things that if we can't inspect it, we'll notate it in the report that, hey, we were either unable to inspect this, or this isn't something that we would normally inspect, and you might want to get a specialist to take a look at it.
So the inspection's done.
Okay.
And you've given the inspection report to the buyer.
Right.
That inspection report is 30 or more pages.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the buyer is getting this book on the inspection, and they're going, uh-oh, this house is like
Broken.
awful. So that, you know, how do you like kind of temper that buyer being overwhelmed with that huge inspection report?
Really good question. We see this a lot. We deal with this a lot, and you know, we're working with a lot of first-time home buyers. I would say one thing that we do is we'll do a walkthrough at the end of our inspection, and so when we're done with the 2 to 3, sometimes 4-hour inspection, we'll walk through with that client if they're there at the end and kind of give them a general summary and a feel for what's going on in this house.
Right.
That alone, probably just our tone of voice, will help them maybe understand what's going on.
Right.
If there's a lot of major issues, we'll probably, explain it that way. If the house is in phenomenal shape, we're going to explain it that way as well.
So in your inspection reports, you kind of classify things as minor, moderate, major, scary, not scary.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. In our reports, we do try to provide as much perspective as we can.
Right.
One of my observations really early on starting this business was that most inspection reports are just a laundry list of hundreds of items in a house.
Right.
And it's hard for a buyer that's not super knowledgeable to really differentiate
Right.
what's important. So
Right.
like you said, what we do is we'll categorize everything as like a minor, moderate, or a major defect. And that'll kind of help somebody understand, hey, this might be something that you want to get looked at further, get an understanding of what it might cost to repair. And then, down to the minor items might just be informational type stuff or, like a honey-do list that you might
Right.
want to knock out over the next,
Yeah.
few months or few years.
Right.
So.
Well, that was jam-packed full of information, and we are so excited that we got to share that with you. And thank you so much, Kurt, for being here with us. Thank you so much for joining the Florida Coastal Homes YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel to stay tuned with all of our helpful and fun videos to come.